I'm Gab. He's not Jules, as you can see. He's future Jules. No, it's Rob Palmer.
Past Jules.
Imagine that. No, Jules is away. He's on a well-earned holiday, no doubt. Gloating this week between Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. I think things worked out pretty well. All he needs is Wales to win in the rugby. Are they playing rugby? Probably.
I don't. He'll be floating down the Seine where you're gloating. He'll be gloating and floating. He's probably swimming in champagne, isn't he?
Man, what a Champions League. We've seen so many great goals. We can say the ties are going to be a little bit one-sided now, certainly 3 of the 4, but we just had an incredible week. But clearly the top story is Arsenal winning 3-0 against Real Madrid. 2 Declan Rice free kicks. I think I saw a stat that he played like 330 odd games as a professional, never scored a free kick, and he nails 2 from a million miles out.
Yeah, was it Arsenal hadn't scored a free kick since, was it October 2021? So, I mean, clearly Real Madrid hadn't done their homework on who was going to take the free kick and what they were going to do from it. I mean, the first one was a tale of the unexpected. And then the second one, he was looking at him going, he can't do it again, and he does it again. And the second one was more perfect than the first one, wasn't it?
Well, it's not just the free kicks. It's also that he's so far out. Some people are blaming Thibaut Courtois, saying he could have done better. Oh. You're the former goalkeeper out of the 2 of us.
To get to Courtois, then there has to be several things that have gone wrong before that. The free kick, which we'll get to, which comes down to the team selection of Alaba giving away a free kick on the edge of the area and then giving away a second free kick in the same position. And then the wall as well. And if you see the first one...
Wait, who sets up the wall?
I was going to say, the argument would be, you're right there, if Courtois sets up the wall, then that is the only way that I would blame him, and that if you're a goalkeeper, a goalkeeping coach, you would be screaming at the last man in the wall, and I can't remember who it was now, to step another metre, another yard to the left-hand side. You always tell them to be a yard outside the post. He was a yard inside the post, and that was a big, come and get me, have a little go at this. It was almost like go to the fun fair and throw at the coconut there. So yeah, if Courtois set up the wall, that for me is the only way that he's to blame. But apart from that, I think you detract him from a fantastic free kick and the fact that Real Madrid gave away stupid free
you're saying
kicks.
If Courtois set up the wall, of course he set up the wall. Who else is going to Lunin from the bench? Come on.
Quite often they don't though, Gab. Quite often they will have somebody in the wall that sets it up. That you'll see them turn around and they will look at the wall and they will do it. It depends which club and who your coach is as well. It should be the goalkeeper. It should be Courtois. So he should be to blame. But if not, it comes down to Ancelotti.
There you go. He's going to get a lot of blame. That's a natural transition. By the way, I'm not having to go Courtois. I think it could have been worse without some of those big saves that he made. No. He's one of my favorite players.
Goalkeepers Union is serving you a writ as I speak.
But this being Real Madrid, between this, the points dropped at the weekend, all of a sudden, Ancelotti gone at the end of the season. That's how quickly things turn in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, they have been chugging along, and I think Ancelotti is arguably the best coach out there in the world for the last couple of years. I'd say even better than Guardiola with what he's achieved with a limited bunch, squad of whatever you call them these days, of Real Madrid players.
Wait. You were close to say limited budget. They do have the highest.
But they don't spend the budget, do they? They don't spend nothing on Mbappe, and then the players that they have brought in, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, they've been spending 30, 35 million. So they've not been giving him back the money to go out and buy players. He basically gets the ingredients, and then he's told to kind of bake an omelette from that, isn't he?
Well, yeah, no, he's not literally acquiring the players himself, but they have an enormous wage bill.
Yeah,
I think the issue isn't so much the resources that Real Madrid have thrown at this stage. It's how those resources have been allocated, because Jules and I say this all the time. Kroos gone, not replaced. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, the two, or actually, I'll say 3. Mm-hmm. One is Joselu gone, not replaced. And you know what? It's always handy to have a center forward so Jude Bellingham doesn't have to play there. Kroos gone, not replaced. Even though you don't need like somebody as good as Kroos, you just need somebody who's just a passer, right? Who can do what Bellingham used to do, or who can do what, or even a fit Dani Ceballos. And then I don't know why injury at the back, and they don't bring in anybody in January. Those to me are cardinal sins.
Yeah, but does that come down to Ancelotti, or does that come down?
No, I'll answer you right now. It's not down to Ancelotti.
But if you go back in time, you'd look at Liverpool this season in the Premier League. Had a fantastic season, but Alisson hasn't been injured, Salah hasn't been injured, Van Dijk hasn't been injured. They've had no injuries there. With him, he's been playing without 3 of his back 4. In the ideal,
but this is why. This is what I'm talking about.
Camavinga's carrying an injury. Yeah, you're right. They haven't recruited, and he hasn't brought any kids through either.
It's not him. Stop saying him.
Yeah.
It's the club, and I think this is Florentino's approach. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the fact that Mbappe at least had that early chance.
Yep.
Vinicius and Rodrigo were absolutely horrendous. AWOL on this night. Rob, I'm a huge Carlo Ancelotti fan. I don't hide that. You're an Ancelotti fan, but our job is to analyze and criticize. And man, he's going to get a lot of criticism because he's certainly not the only culprit. Some of those stars that you pay absurd amounts of money for, Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, I'd say especially Vinicius and Rodrigo on this occasion, let him down on the night. But he is certainly one of the culprits with some of his choices. Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. As we've said frequently, he's found a way to get over the inadequacies of Real Madrid and the players that have been injured this season. But the other night, I'm sure he went home and had a little strong Italian coffee after the game and probably looked at it and went, I got things wrong. He played Alaba at left back, who's hardly played this season. Guy comes on the field with a heavily strapped leg, against a whip it down the right wing as well. First game at left back, even though he's not trusted him really to play in La Liga at all. Immediately there's a weakness. He plays Valverde at right back, which he has done this season, but then he loses the legs in midfield. They were completely overrun in midfield, and we'll go back to that because the strikers were doing no running either. So effectively, I think he's got his team selection wrong when it comes to the second leg.
Help him out. You said he got his team selection wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's time travel. Right. It's Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Phone rings. It's like, Rob, Carletto, tell me what I should do. Should I stick Fran Garcia at left back?
Yes.
Okay. And then what do I do at right back?
You do what you want because you've got it right 99 times out of 100.
Tell me, Rob. I can't decide. Do I play the old Lucas Vasquez or do I play Fede Valverde, who's done well for me?
It's like talking to him. I close my eyes. It's like no, but you know what I mean. But yeah, but I would say. Going back in time, I looked at it and I tweeted out Alaba left back, bandaged leg. Not played left back this season. That was a glaring mistake. I think with Fran Garcia on the other side, they would have had more movement, more mobility, and they would have got away with Valverde in midfield, and then there's more energy in the team. But they're very, very static with Valverde there and Alaba there, and they're playing a very flat back four, which means those ahead of them have to put the running in, put the energy in, and they didn't, did they? So I think almost one selection was the catalyst for that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the pieces don't fit together. I think he played Alaba ahead of Valverde because it's a big game. I think he feels Alaba can be more tactically disciplined.
Yeah.
I think Alaba is a better one-on-one defender, better reading the game than Fran Garcia, which undoubtedly is.
Yeah.
The other thing is Bukayo Saka is really fast and a good dribbler and very smart. I don't see how, and Fran Garcia is not a good defender, right? He's much better, certainly going forward.
Yeah.
That was his thinking. I think we both agree he got that one wrong. The other alternative could have been playing Camavinga there, which he's done before.
Yeah.
Which has not been great when he's played there. But you needed Camavinga in the middle of the park because Tchouaméni suspended, Dani Ceballos not there, and Valverde playing right back.
Yeah.
So, and the only other midfielder you'd have is 39 years old.
Who hasn't been playing back-to-back games, and then you're relying him to almost go 90 minutes.
So I think, we can criticize the team selection, but I think you would struggle. I mean, there's only so many options, right?
Yeah.
That you would have had.
Yeah.
I don't know that Fran Garcia wouldn't have gotten roasted as badly as Alaba. I genuinely don't. On the right, I think Valverde is actually a good option when he has a good game and can come forward.
Yeah.
Maybe, though, in this game, without Tchouaméni, maybe he was needed more in midfield because Modric is 39 and
Yeah, you've got your best team there. Tchouaméni plays in midfield. Modric comes in for the last 20 minutes off the bench, and I would think that Fran Garcia plays left back. And then your only question is who plays right back. He's got it right in the Champions League and the big games by playing Valverde there and leaving Lucas Vazquez out. I would imagine that he's just got to go for it in the second leg. That he has made an error. It hasn't worked, but they were, again, and let's not take it away from Arsenal. They were beaten by a better team who tactically were more astute on the night, had more energy in the team, and they were more exacting in absolutely everything that Arsenal did as well. It was just a very poor team performance from Real Madrid.
Let's talk elephant in the room, which is his forwards. Mm-hmm. Now, I was in Munich at
Elephants move faster than his forwards.
I was in Munich at the Bayern game, and I got home to my hotel very late, and so I watched the extended highlights of this. 14 minutes. I don't think I saw Vinicius in those 14 minutes at all. I watched the game back the next day and saw that he actually did play. At some point, is somebody going to dare say, how is it that this guy has world-beating games and this guy has really bad games? And I can live with somebody being inconsistent. You're not going to be great every game. Some players, as people like to say here, like, oh, he's a 7 every time. Like, yeah, that's fine. But what I need is from a guy who is a 10 sometimes and a 5 other times, I need him defensively to be at least a 6 all the time, to at least work. Because, this thing about, some days it's not going to work out for you on the ball. That's fine. We accept that. Mm-hmm. But surely you should be there helping your left back away from home in the first leg, even when things aren't working out for you.
Yeah, I probably saw a little bit more of the game, and I'm studying that. And the front three, the great coaches always say it's the front three that are your first line of defence, and they were kind of going through the motions. The ball is being played around at the back. They're making a motion to get 10 or 15 yards away. Then it goes to the other guy, and they would say, I was making the effort. But as you say, you have to dig in. Vinicius Jr. is the man on the left-hand side, has to come back and help Alaba. He may say, and his agent may say, well, Vinny wasn't getting enough of the ball. Those are the games where you've got to go searching for the ball. We've got to take little 1-2s off your midfield.
Look, leave the ball out of it. I'm talking off the ball.
Yeah.
You are away from home, right?
But to get on the ball, off the ball, you've got to put the hard yards in, haven't you? You've got to get into a position where the ball may come to you. But if you're up there on the halfway line, you're defending.
It's 2025.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to let Mbappe off the hook either, although, he did have that chance early on where you expect him to do better. But I did feel like Mbappe was more present. And as for on the other wing, Rodrigo, again, you have to read the game. If you want to be front foot and play all three of them, and, would Brahim Diaz have given you a better shift? Mm-hmm. Arda probably not right now. In an ideal situation where everybody's fit, maybe he actually plays Valverde on the right, away from home, Champions League first leg. But of course, Valverde can't play 3 different places at once, as good as he is. And by the way, when you were dissing the last guy on the wall, I'm pretty sure it was Valverde.
It was Valverde. When I think back in my mind, he turned his back, didn't he?
But again, if I'm Rodrigo, this is what I don't fail to understand. Like, you can say, oh, look, my best position is on the left side on the attack. I have to play on the right side because these other 2 guys are probably better than I am and certainly much higher paid and are seen as much more of a priority for the club. But dude, to get in the lineup, you have to work your butt. You have to work your backside off. And this is a game where I think he really struggled to do that. And I think he really struggled against Lewis Skelly every time this guy comes forward, right? And then this is the magic of Arsenal, if you will, right? Let's just provide some context here as we transition to Arsenal, because we can just talk about Real Madrid being bad. We're talking about Arsenal being good, right? Let me remind you. People talk about planning and vision and philosophy and Arteta and this and that. The reality is, when you are a manager, you can have seasons where you have to reinvent everything on the fly. Mm-hmm. If you had told Arteta at the start of the season, hey, you're going to play a Champions League quarterfinal and the left-hand side of your back 4 will be composed of Jakub Kiwior, who I think is an open secret they were hoping to get rid of all summer, and Miles Lewis Skelly. And you might say, sorry, who's Miles Lewis Skelly? Wait, is he the kid who plays in midfield for for the youth team, right?
England's future left back now.
No, but understand, right?
Yeah.
And then when you tell him, oh, and your center forward is going to be Mika Marino, he would have started laughing and falling off his chair, right? I just say this to remind people how you can have a plan in the summer.
Yep.
And then, as Mike Tyson says, everybody's a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And then so it's a credit to Arteta for reinventing this. It's a credit to Lewis Skelly to adapt a position, which again, to my knowledge, he's hardly ever played before. This is almost reminiscent of Trent, who'd never played in midfield, never played a right back, becoming one of the best right backs in the world very, very quickly, right? But that's an achievement. I mean, Kiwior and Lewis Skelly against these guys, that's pretty special.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Arteta has improvised and got his coaching and his tactics much better than the master Carlo Ancelotti, who, as I say, 9 times out of 10, 19 out of 20 this season, has done it right. But when Ancelotti has picked a team and he's playing a centre-back at left-back and he's playing an energetic midfield player at right-back, everybody has to put in a shift. And if you're watching the game and people are saying about Bellingham, oh, when's he going to come on, blah, blah, blah. You watch Bellingham, he's covering a multitude of positions. Valverde does that as well. But as you say, in a game like that where you're away from home and you're having to dig in, those creative types that you have in your team have to put in a little bit more effort. They have to go above that 6 out of 10 and just go through the shadow play that you go on the training ground. They've got to be covering these kids who are trying to make a name for themselves down the left and the right-hand side. And I just don't, as you say, I think hit the nail on the head that those guys, the artists in the team, were kind of, they're throwing their hands in the air and they're not digging in and they're not chasing. It has to be perpetual motion in a game like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Bellingham there, so if I digress to this too, I've argued for months that Ancelotti should sit him down and say, listen, I know you were basically a center forward last season. This season's different. Go back to playing in central midfield. Be the boss of the midfield, right? Be sort of Paul Ince, Brian Robson. Actually, he's probably too young to even know who those guys were. But you know what I mean? Rolled into one. Like, be the leader of the midfield. Because that's what we need. I would sit him down and say, look, see that guy? That's Aurelien Tchouameni. That other guy, limping, that's Camavinga. This other dude is Ceballos, who nobody likes and we're trying to get rid of, the club want to get rid of. This other dude is Luka Modric, is 39.
Yeah.
You can do their job better than they can.
Yeah.
Right? So adapt to that position. And the fact that it hasn't happened at all this year, it really strongly suggests to me that Bellingham says, no, I don't want to play there. I don't want to go back to be that player. I'm not that player for England. I wasn't that player last year when I was arguably your best player. Well, why should I have to adapt?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know whether he has the gravitas to say that to Carlo and David Ancelotti if they say that to him in the change room. I agree with you.
You don't think they've ever broached this subject with him?
I think what they probably have to do is say, look, we're paying you the wages. We know we've won a lot more than you. You're a fantastic player. You're a young kid. You're international. But you have to be. What you're saying, you are a centre circle player, aren't you? You're making.
Well, no, you don't necessarily label him. You don't say, oh. You are a center circle player.
But you know what I mean?
Say you can be that because you've done that for 4 years, which is why we spent $100 million on you last year in an emergency situation. You played a different position, and you did it extremely well. And maybe you'll go back to playing there.
That's because had Tony Kroos there holding there, and then that allows
this
him to
year. We need you in this role.
Yeah. And if you look at a heat map of him, you get these heat maps, don't you, watching the TV. His heat map should be in that centre of the field, making things happen, making runs forward, coming back, helping the defence. You look at his heat map at the moment, and it's like a mosquito on heat, isn't it? He's all over the place.
I mean, I think what they've been able to sell to him so far is, I think they probably showed him a video of Zidane, where, remember when Real Madrid were out of possession, Zidane would trot back onto the left-hand side of midfield and kind of be a body as opposed to a turnstile like Vinicius, and do his defending there. And then when they got possession, he was free to move inside. Right. So I think the best thing is not like, oh look, it was good. It was good enough for Zidane, so you can do it too. So they've gotten him to do that. Like I said, I cannot say for certain, but to me, the fact that it's such a plain, evident solution in games like this for the midfield. And they haven't done it, leads me to think that maybe they tried in training and Bellingham was bad at it. But didn't you think that Bellingham says, no, I don't really want to do that? they don't get the buy-in from him. But
Yep.
let's talk Arsenal. We said we were talking Arsenal. Let's go back.
What he needs to do is look at Declan Rice, for example, and see how he's evolved over the last couple of years and how he's come on.
Okay, I will say this. I'll be Mr. Contrarian. I'll be Mr. Troll
Not like
for a second.
you. Come on, Coach. Right. Come on, you can't do that to us.
Cumulative XG of Arsenal's 3 goals, 0.14.
Yeah.
Arsenal had higher expected goals throughout. If you take out that sequence with the Courtois saves when Arsenal had about 3 clear-cut chances kind of in the same play, did Arsenal create that much?
Courtois made one great double save. I do not subscribe to XG. I'm not part of that religion.
Okay, then just think in terms of chances, right?
That's basically some college student writing things down.
Okay, apart from the double saves. That double save sequence.
Saves, the 2 fantastic free kicks, and the 3rd goal. But
you understand, right?
You wanted to be contrarian.
But what I'm saying is there an argument to be made that the free kicks there's nothing you can do about, right? I mean, these are freak events in terms of play, and we know set pieces are really important to Arsenal, and as they are to every team, maybe especially so for Arsenal. I'm glad, by the way, he took the free quickly so that. And took it directly on goal, so we didn't have to. How the cameras always
free quick. I like that. That's a new term. The free quick.
No, but the cameras always cut to that guy, the Seppi's coach, Nicolas Chauvert, whatever his name is, right? As if oh look, they're gonna score. Let's cut to him, But there's an argument to be made that actually Real Madrid weren't that bad defensively, and we're kind of shifting it onto this that they didn't actually concede. That many.
I hear what you're saying, but I think in every game in the Champions League, it all came down to those finest margins, and it has been a fantastic midweek Champions League quarterfinals, and every single game that we've looked at have come down to that nth degree and either an act of brilliance or somebody taking their eye off the ball. And it came down to Arsenal forcing free kicks and winning free kicks in virtually the same position twice, and Alaba diving in for one, and it was Jude Bellingham that dived in for the other one. And if you're the coach and they go back and they analyse that, they would say, we contain them, but you gave away a stupid free kick on the edge of the area in a position where the alarm bells are going to be ringing as well. So I think Arsenal kept chipping away, and they made Real Madrid play to that absolute maximum defensively, but they found that weakness in there. But I hear what you're saying, but ultimately Real Madrid just weren't good enough, and Arsenal just played to their absolute maximum on the evening.
So the obvious thing with this in our Champions League talking points is, can Real Madrid turn this around? And obviously this is where we trot out all the cliches about the miedo escénico de Bernabeu, the stage fright that happens at the Bernabeu. We talk about the scenario where moment of brilliance, Real Madrid score early, and then all of a sudden, like the Bernabeu heats up, and then Arsenal freak out and bottle it. I'm not saying it won't happen. It certainly can happen. We've seen it happen before. I've covered my backside. But I think Arsenal this season are primarily a really good defensive team.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Do Real Madrid have the players to turn it around? Yeah, Vinny Jr., if they get on the front foot, they can unleash Mbappe. Bellingham can score an early goal. They put the frighteners on them as well. It's a massive auditorium with that roof on it, something different to what the Arsenal players have witnessed before. You look at the history books, only one English team, I believe, has ever turned it around in the Champions League, and that would be the other way around, has lost a league like that, and that would be Derby County back in the late 70s against Real Madrid. So history isn't exactly on the side of Arsenal, of Real Madrid in there as well. But I just don't think it's going to happen. As you say, Arsenal are disciplined. I don't think there's anybody in their team that is going to lose their head and do something silly that Real Madrid could play on and chip away and try and get a couple of early yellow cards. I think Arteta's probably got it just right on the night. They could lose 1-0, 2-0, but they're not going to lose 3 goals, are they?
You said it here. I'll give you one more stats. Real Madrid have beaten 111 different teams in the history of the Champions League and European Cup. Arsenal, not one of them.